Mic drop.
Hi everyone, and welcome to our first episode of The Level, a vodcast series brought to you by VMLY&R. So this is a vodcast that creates space where we highlight our POC colleagues and underrepresented groups within the agency. The intention is for us to talk about real topics, real issues, and the real action steps we can take to improve the workplace and the work we do to amplify and level up our people and our communities, use our voice, and really inspire allyship moving forward so we can all level up. All right, well, I'm Clara Luo. I head up BAV Studio here at VMLY&R. I am a first generation Chinese American. Definitely growing up with the immigrant, mindset. It's something that I hold very dearly in my heart, and really excited to be here today.
I'm gonna go after you a little bit too, because hi everyone, Nikeisha Beckford representing the Detroit office, client engagement. Really excited to just Kiki with y'all. FYI, my nickname is Kiki, so I usually do a party that's Kiki with Kiki. So that might not be a little segment we might roll out, just we'll drop in some previews. But yeah, really excited about this.
I'll go next. Hello everyone. My name is Daniela Rosario, but people call me Danny. I am Puerto Rican. I work at VMLY&R. I'm very excited. So it's a little bit about me.
Amen.
What's going on, y'all? My name is Luis Alfredo Núñez Jr. I hail from New Jersey. I work in the New York office. I was born in Puerto Rico, but I'm also half Belizean. And so when you talk about the Latin and Caribbean roots kind of flowing, it's definitely embedded in my family. Definitely excited to share our stories, definitely excited to share our perspectives as a person of color.
Let's prelude with some gratitude. So a lot of things have happened in 2021, but before we do, we kind of want to take it back to 2020 and talk about maybe one or two things that we were grateful for in 2020.
The main thing for 2020 is that I'm grateful for the year of change, and there's so much, and I think we'll talk through a lot of it, but for me, without change, there's really no that feeling of uncomfortableness and uncertainty. That's actually what it takes to grow, right? Change is about growth, and 2020 really laid that foundation for me as an individual to grow, and then think about what my actions can do to help others in our community grow. So I'm extremely grateful for all of that, even though it wasn't always the most happy news, but it's about creating that momentum, and I think that's where we are today. So it's truly grateful for 2020. I grew a lot.
Same 2020, yo. It's here's a couple months and you were what is happening right now? This is insane. But I would say one of the things I would say, Claire, your kind of word was change and growth. And I feel connectedness is a little bit different for the word I would pick for me. I feel so connected with so many different communities now because of the environment that 2020 created. This would not be happening without 2020. And so, I just got back from Dallas visiting colleagues I just met 6 months ago virtually. You know what I mean? Because I think 2020 just created just a connected experience for people who wanted to sort of be open and vulnerable to just, meet, connect, and bond over, just everything that we were all going through in different ways. So I definitely say the connectedness out of 2020, I'm so grateful for.
I love that.
Yeah, man. Luis, you want to go? I'm watching your mouth. I'm going. It's like.
He's
Go ahead. Hey, all the ladies go first, and I will go last.
Oh, excellent. Love to see it.
Yes.
Well, actually, funny enough, one of the things I think 2020 I'm most grateful for is kind of going off what Nikeisha said. I had this access to people. And the thing is that, like, normally, you know, if I was in the office, I don't know if as I would have been as honest and forthcoming as the things I was experiencing, you know, in the office and outside of the office. And like that one day I hit up Luis. I didn't even know Luis like that. I said, what's up? I said, can we jump on a call because your girl is drowning? And he was so open and honest and willing to listen and give advice. And like that for me, moments like that meant everything. It meant like, wow, real honest, open conversations, people who really care and not just fake care. It was a chance to slow down and recognize that people aren't as terrible as you think. You know, no, really, people aren't shit. And like that was the most beautiful thing to come out, is that like having conversations I thought I would never have with people about things I would never talk about. So for me,
especially at work.
Yeah, especially at work.
Yeah.
It's so true. Just the openness of conversation, and to your point, like the openness to listen in a way that we've never had before. And I think it's a beauty of both speaking up and listening that I'm so inspired by. I think that's why I always get in the growth, because it's energy. Like we're moving, things are moving, and I think that's what's awesome. Is like everything last year catapulted change that's been brewing and simmering for a while, and you know 2020 we just boiled over, and now we're cooking.
Hey, girl.
That's good. Yeah, I think you make a great point, Clara. I think that that sense of urgency came out of 2020. For me, like the sense of urgency came a little bit more on a personal level. Like it came where like things that I said I'm going to do, be intentional about, especially when it comes to my family. Like it brought a whole nother level of gratitude when it comes to my loved ones, because you saw it was a time, especially in the pandemic and even now as we're going through it, where people are still losing loved ones. And so me coming out of it, grateful that even during the midst of some scares where some family members did catch COVID, that they pulled out. And, I'm just grateful, and I've been intentional about letting people know that I love them, letting people know that, hey, I'm thinking about you, reaching out to people. I'm going to make sure that I'm backing up what I say when it comes to what's coming out of my mouth. So I think for me, it's become about a new perspective on being grateful for the people that you have. Where I was maybe so wrapped up in certain things, realizing that that's the least of my concerns. It should be the least of priority. And then things that, maybe it was flipped where I didn't make it a priority. I'm just like, no, this is important to me, and I'm going to make sure that I'm hitting home on it.
I love that. And I think, one theme that I'm like, if I could change my first answer after hearing all of y'all say stuff, because I'm like, I'd love to, because I think the main thing for me now is actually perspective. Perspective.
Yeah.
All of it. Like that to me is almost, I said change, but what I really meant, if I could redo it.
Perspective, I got you, girl.
Yeah. The change perspective. Thank you, Danny. Because I think that's such a big shift.
Well, I think that's such a great thing you bring up, Clara. How has 2020 maybe helped shifted the meaning of DE&I for you, and how is your mindset shifted around that?
Oh, I love that. I mean, hard question. I mean, I think the meaning has changed completely, because before that, I'll be honest, I feel like there were initiatives, but to the earlier points of an openness for people to be vulnerable, but also an openness for people to listen and truly understand. Having the listening ear and the space, and we've done that so well in our company, to think about how do we create intentional conversation. And it's shifted my view of DE&I, because for me, it's not I realize as a person of color, as a immigrant kid, that it's not something I check off a box. It's things I live with every day, and I need to learn how to be bold and open in sharing my experiences. So it's less about me taking the I think DE&I is not about me teaching people. DE&I is about me sharing perspectives so that people are inspired to learn more and get better, So it's shifted a little bit into less of a thing that happens and, oh, wait, I'm like, I am part of it because it's not a program.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's me,
Yeah.
it's us, we, and it's not a job. It's everyone's collective responsibility.
Okay.
Danny.
Danny.
I raised my hand because you just said something so right, just like that. But it's just so interesting. I guess for me, when I went to college, I was part of like diversity, equity, like monthly cultural planning meetings where there would be we would do Native American heritage. We would do so. For me, when I actually joined into corporate culture, it was like I went back 10 years. I'm like, what is going on? And like,
why is nobody talking about this?
Right. And like so much of the importance of celebrating those months and talking about those experiences, kind of like what we're doing now, is what I was missing. And like, I think you touched on something that also needs that you need D&I with, and it's vulnerability. And that's what I wanted. Like, yes, we would do these DE&I like events and things of that nature. But I feel like now, especially within the last year, like I've learned things about my coworkers, people I didn't even know in a giant Teams meeting.
Right.
Like for me, like that does something for you, like that's like for me, I think that's bravery. I think that people are listening. So for me, I think that change and watching other people get excited and get passionate about it, for me, I think what has changed in DE&I. Like I always understood, like for me, like it's important. Like hello, I really be in people's faces. But I think for now, where people want to learn, that's the shift that has made me so excited. And like I'll be in all the meetings volunteering. I'll be like, what you need? Because that's what it's about.
Yeah.
And also people's openness to share. I think that's change when you talk about change. But before, you kept your personal stuff, you kept how you felt, you kept that out the office. You didn't talk about that.
Yes.
Well, because for us as people of color, like, you didn't want to make anybody feel uncomfortable. You're trying to climb up the ladder. So if you talk about these things, that'll kind of like push you down the ladder or not get you looked at to go up the ladder for promotion or like to feel like a valued part of the company. And so that's changed as well. I feel comfortable having these conversations. Like I'm okay with doing this. I'm okay with sharing my perspective in this place.
Yeah.
I think that's changed as well. Like, and so it's twofold. It's the comfortability to share and share with no holds bars. Like share that this is my truth. I'm not trying to offend you. I'm just trying to tell you that this is my truth.
Yeah.
And then you being open to hear what that truth is. And then reading between the lines so that we can come, to a place where, again, we can have that actionable allyship.
So true, Luis. Like, and it's interesting, we all joked before about my old ass, but, so I not only have, immigrant parents, which, we all kind of know lean heavily in sort of the American dream, go to college, get a good job, all that. Don't rock the boat, assimilate, So it's like, I've got that, and then being older, that's even more reinforced because these kind of conversations, y'all, like never would have been happening in like, my corporate job when I started at 28, 29, 30. Like, are you kidding me? Like the definition of crucial conversations was like talking more about, an employee's performance. Like it was never about inclusivity, DE&I, like, so, when you were saying like, I am now DE&I, like Clara, like that hit me so hard because that's one of the things 2020 brought to me. Like in my last job, like I got slapped with it. Like I was one of 2 Black people and I was in a position of making money from my agency. I was in new business And I came up against a situation where I was like, yo, like, I'm Black and I need to say something to my fella. I'm like, I need to speak, you know? I'm like, I've never felt like compelled to like represent the voice of, you know, like my race or my ethnicity, and really just say like, the way y'all are approaching this shit ain't right. And like, we really need to have more inclusive voices at the table so that the conversation, there is an environment of everyone can share and there's those safe spaces. So like coming into VMLY&R, it was critical for me to keep that going. And so, you know, going back to the connectedness, being able to come into, you know, a national community, you know, where everybody was like pushing to have those conversations, making that a, you know, an upfront discussion. I mean, it still touches me, and I feel like so good knowing that even in my like older, you know, age, and I know I ain't old, I go, you know, but that I'm still able to like impact. Like I'm, you know, I'm still like, I feel like I'm also carrying a torch of like, you know, youth and protest and voice and empowerment and all of that, which, you know, sometimes when you do get to that older stage, you are thinking about, you know, your bank account, your next rung up and all of that. And knowing that like, I will never feel comfortable succeeding if the voices of other, you know, people of color are not there too. If they're not all there, like, you know, I'm carrying the stories of like other people I hear to the leaders that I know so that I can say, do you hear this is happening to, you know, this Black woman? This is happening to this Asian man. This is happening to this, you know, Indian, whatever. Like just people need to hear and know, because I've been blessed enough to assimilate to a certain level of, you know, where people will hear me. I want to make sure they hear everyone.
Yes, Nikeisha.
All right, let me put my earring back in now.
I was literally crying.
Why did I fix for that?
Right, I'm like, why did I fix my makeup? Because
oh yeah, like I think like, I mean, you all said to a certain degree, but like not scared to say shit no more.
Yeah.
Like you gonna hear about it. Like I think the one nuance I bring is maybe a little bit of like, okay, how do I say it to, you know, white people so they listen and they feel a little comfortable, you know, all of that, because I've had to do new business. You know, you got to sell and pitch a little thing here.
The finesse.
No, exactly. But like, we gonna have these conversations, you know, like one of my big kind of flags I'm waving right now is people managers. Like people managers are so critical, and I'm not going to stop talking until other people realize the importance of like ensuring that the leadership of teams and groups and individuals is held at the same esteem as their technical skills. Like, you know, I was like, if you manage a team of 10 people, that's 40 hours, like 400, hours a week of productivity you are in control of or influence. Like, that's precious, time right there. You know what I mean? What opportunities do you have to like uplift, cultivate, create, innovate? Like, if you genuinely know and care. And so for me, the mind shift has been, don't stop talking.
I love that.
Right.
I mean, I think a huge part too is we often think about companies and brands or corporations, institutions as the system. And I think for me, the mind shift is similar to yours. I'm like, it's made of people and experiences. And the more we show up, the more we are intentional with asking questions, the more we allow people's stories to come to a surface. And that's something I think, if you think about my immigrant, you know, upbringing, at least for me, I'm like, I was taught the company is the system, and then you fit in, you achieve, you go. But in reality, the truth is that you are hired as a human with diverse perspectives, whether it's education, where you're from, your story, your ethnicity, all of those things are like, we're in a people business and you sell ideas and people, but we all make up the larger system. But that was a mind shift for me, is how do we build, to your point, foster and build culture in a way that extends to our clients, because our brands that we work with, our clients are people. Like, we're all just people making things work and moving forward. And it's a hard.
And they're talking to people.
Yeah, we're all talking to people. Like,
Right.
we're just all talking to each other, and it's such a shift from like, I gotta get this out because we gotta do this, and now I'm like, no, let me really have that conversation and figure out what's going on. And that's the same thing with like being a manager. Like, for me, just thinking about, okay, what's driving decisions, getting to it. Sometimes it's hard to do because there are a lot of deadlines and pressure, but it's like a heightened awareness for me to like make sure I spend the time creating space for myself to ask the right questions and also listen to other people, which is hard to do sometimes when you're in like, new business land, go. But what you said is, it's so true. It's just like people first, and it's people centric. We're not a system, we're people.
What, for all you guys, like, what excites you maybe about the future and sort of some of the changes that we have seen and some of the things that have started to take place? Like, what are you looking forward to, sort of into 2021 and like beyond, in terms of like, these conversations and everything? I feel like Luis got something. What you got?
I think it's piggybacking off of what you guys were talking about, this shift in the mindset, this shift in our perspective on being open to have these conversations. I think that people I think people are becoming very self-aware, not only about themselves, but about the people that they're working with. Yeah. And it's because the people that they're working with are forcing them to be self-aware. Like, and I'm excited about that mindset, because like you were talking about, Nikeisha, it's the first time in my career where I'm seeing, this kind of mindset shift, these conversations being had. This is the first company that I've worked for where they're intentional about these conversations. We've always, we were talking about, offline, right? That these are conversations you have offline. Like, hey, can I, you want to meet up real quick? Like, hey, can you believe that happened in the meeting? Can you believe that, they said that in the meeting, and now it's not waiting till the meeting is over. It's like, hey, I'd like to address something that so-and-so said. It's a really, I love to see that. And that excites me, where I don't have to feel like I'm crazy to have these conversations or to say this, because, in the past, that's how people will make you feel, where it's just like, oh, I don't think that they meant it like that. Oh, I don't think that was their intention. But no, it is. And it's simply because I don't have any backing or stance or foundation that now my thought process or what I'm calling out is getting swept under the rug. But now, because these conversations are being had, now because diversity, inclusion, and equity is becoming core principles across multiple companies. I see D&I people being hired every 5 minutes on LinkedIn, and now it's like, this is a real thing, y'all. And so that excites me, that our perspective is at the forefront now. That that people are mindful of it. We have a long way to go. I think that I'm excited of the birth and the infancy and the explosion of it, because like everything else, it explodes from the onset, right? But now it's continuing to have the conversation and driving it. And, even for something like this vodcast, where we're going to continue to speak on these kinds of things, because it's not just one conversation. This is years of, this could be years of conversations, because this has been years in the making. And so that's what I'm excited about 2020, hopeful of the fact that we're going to come to, solutions, actionable steps. So that we can move forward.
I love that. I mean, one thing too on that is, I love that, because I think the conversation years past has always been on the diversity. So you look different, you're kind of different. Oh, come in. Okay, we got the diverse check.
Cool.
Cool, great. Token X. Welcome
Right.
to the club. Token POC. Welcome. Token Woman. Welcome. Okay, we're diverse now.
You
But
said Token X. I'm Clara. We can't go by that. You said Token X. I'm gonna steal. That's gonna be my new name.
That's so good.
X. I'm crying.
you know, X equals whatever we need today.
Right? On the
Yep.
blank. Yeah.
Not to get super mathy on that, but for real. But I do think now the conversation is on equity and inclusion, and those are actionable sides of diversity. Diversity gets the conversation going. Equity is a constant journey. So is inclusion. Those are, like, to your point, Luis, it's the journey moment. That's never going to end. That refinement will continue to be a lifetime, you know, like we're always going to have to hold ourselves accountable to building the E and the I and being mindful. I mean, the D is also important, but, you know, all of it. But I think, like, equity and inclusion has really been, like, for me, where I see a lot of the shift, right? So, like, okay, we hire a POC person into the organization. What does that mean? Are we creating, are we setting them up to succeed? Are we creating intentional space so people feel comfortable? And to your point, like, do we give them the permission to be themselves, or you just get hired because you're just a POC, a token X? You know, companies mess that up all the time. You don't want to be
all the time. All the time.
Yo, Clara, honestly, you bring up such a good point. And for me, this is my hope for the year. I feel like I had this conversation with my copy partner, and he was like, you know why there's not, you know, we're talking, and the reason that there's not a lot more people of color in creative spaces, in ad spaces, is not because they don't have they lack the creativity, they lack the intelligence. It's because they literally do not know about it. They do not have the resources to understand. They don't understand. I didn't know about advertising. I didn't know about art direction. I had no idea about the programs. I was like, I guess we're gonna figure it out, you know? But my hope for this year is that we have less of that. And I feel like people are starting to generate more programs. Even, I mean, in a creative space, I feel like people are going to stop needing degrees. As long as you have the work, the ability, the concepts to back it up, you should be in this space. And that's my hope for this year, is to get good talent, and when they have good ideas, hopefully to put them in places where we can execute them, you know?
Yeah. Danny, I love that. I was like, okay, because it was literally what my thing was going to be, because, you know, as I was saying, being able to come into VMLY&R, I've been able to actually live out more of the values that I didn't even realize I had. And one of the things that I'm getting to work on is actually developing a pathway into industry coming out of the Detroit office that, you know, we hope to spread across all of VMLY&R and all of WPP. And so really being able to find the next Nikeisha, find the next Danny, find the next Clara, let these kids see, and the thing is, I think because, you know, VMLY&R has this unique approach to kind of design thinking that I am excited about not creating a program that's how do we get you into advertising? But how do we teach you how to design think the world, you know what I mean? Go back to your community and think about human-centered problem solving, and what could I do? What could I be? Do I go into advertising, or do I create my own business? Do I go into, you know, nonprofit? But you know, just I'm so pressed to make sure that this program is you know, not just another okay, we're gonna get you a job here, internship pathway thing, but it's really setting up, you know, youth of color to know that they can tackle the world. We can give them those skills to not only be technically proficient and succeed, but also be you know, tap that emotional EQ also, make sure that they are inclusive, that they're equitable, that they think about belonging, they think about being strong leaders. So I'm excited to you know, put my energy, you know, not just into the system of things and getting the, like, you know, the scopes done and the paycheck signed, but like also using, you know, my time at VMLY&R to leave like some lasting imprint on the community, like, you know, on the people, like, who are really going to carry the torch for the future. So I'm, you know, amped about that. And so like, and then the thing is, I get to work with y'all and like tap you off for ideas and like, how's this work in New York? How's this work in DC? How's this, you know, like, so all the way back to, you know, the connectedness that 2020 brought us, I'm just so excited for.
Oh, I love that. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that I talked a lot with some of my friends and colleagues is that if 2020 taught you about survival in a sense, right? And sometimes I think a big unlock for us as we think about community, our people and helping others up is shifting that mindset from survival to thriving. That's like my mantra right here is like survive to thrive. Because when you come from a scarcity mindset, there's this fear that nothing's going to grow. And I think and I'll be very candid and honest, I didn't go into advertising because I was in a survival mindset. I started off in financial services and banking. It's steady, it makes money. Keeping in mind that, you know, the immigrant mindset, I'm like, you know, I was not a doctor, I was not a lawyer, so I picked the next most stable job that was not a teacher or engineer, and that was in financial services. What I realized is if I shifted my mindset to an abundance of opportunities, which there always will be if you are open to look for, it helps you unlock a lot of new opportunities. So I think even for us as and for me, that's my whole thing is with mentoring and community, it's about shifting that mindset to say there's more to come. This isn't even the height of it, shifting that, you know, I think we need that hope and optimism for especially POC.
Catching me in all the fields, Clara, Lord, yes.
No, literally, Clara, that's something that like I've like when whenever I tell someone, I don't tell someone I am self-made. I never say that shit. I am community made, survived by friends, family, and mentors. When I stand, there are 500 people behind me, and I never forget that. And what I do, I make room for 500 more in front of me. And I feel like that's the way we're gonna get forward. That's how we're gonna do it. Woo! So the fact that we all seem to be on the same page, I'm very emotional. But like, truly, y'all, this shit touched my heart. No, it's seldom do you find people who love other people that as much and really want to do the work. People don't want to do the work, and that's it.
Yeah. No.
Clara, you said something really great. We talk about the I use the term poverty mindset, right? And you know, I could actually speak personally to that because I remember early in my career where it was just like, I got to know everything and I got to keep it all to myself.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like, I got to, you know, get in the room and survive and thrive, you know, but just for me. Yeah. And I think that was a poverty mindset. And we talked earlier about, you know, what make successful middle managers. And even during this time of, you know, of COVID, we realized and D&I, we realized that, you know, the importance of that middle manager, right? And over the years, being able to see no, I don't have to harbor these things or these ways of knowing things or these skill sets. Like I can share and still grow and succeed. Where it's just like I can't tell anybody my secrets, you know. Yeah. But no, that's the point. Yeah. You share the wealth. You share the knowledge that you have. And part of it is because of where we came from. No one else shared with you. You kind of had to make your own way. But then to Danny's point, it really was about, no, the people did share with you. You didn't get here on your own. You know what I'm saying? And so it was being aware that, okay, it's okay to share. And my growth will come from sharing because as I teach you, as I help you grow, it grows me in return. And then I see somebody else moving forward. I don't have to be the only one in the room now because now I've given you something to impart where I've wasted time trying to figure it out. I'm saving you the time. Now go and add on. One thing that I love is that actually my father tells me all the time, he tells me, I want my ceiling to be your basement.
Wow.
You know, and that, you know, that's something that, you know, stays with me and that I try to bring here. And grateful to the company, to your point, especially during this virtual world, it's almost like we can do that, right?
Yeah.
Like the sharing of these thoughts, having these conversations and connections where this is where you are and now you're engaging me and now I can give you a little something to, you know, that we can move forward with together.
Yeah. And I like, at least like you say that, and it's so beautiful because I think the one, like the little nuance I would hope that our leadership captured in that is like the cross-pollination of talent and sharing of ideas that, like, you know, the Intel like community is talking to the Ford community, is talking to the Wendy's community. Like the way we are cross-pollinating what we do and our talents, like y'all don't even understand how we're enriching your business just by like this, you know, like. So you're right, like having that next person in the room just amplifies and escalates just like, you know, the growth so much. So,
you know, moving away from I like what you said, Luis, like the poverty mindset, because when you're in survival mode, it might not even be intentional that you don't want to share. It's like you don't have time to share because you're just trying to stay above the water. And I feel like I watched that happen growing up a lot. Sometimes it's just about like putting your head down, keeping it going. And to your point about like our parents and, you know, families and all the people before us, like that basement, and you know, their ceiling is our basement. Like that is so, I'm like, that's so true, because that should be it for every generation. And I watched this amazing TED Talk by Carla Harris the other day, and she talks about like the importance of having advocates and sponsors at work. If you haven't watched it, it's amazing. And her last line was the fastest way to have more power and be a leader in organizations, giving away more of your power. That's the power.
Wow.
And that's something, it just stuck with me because I'm like, when you come from an abundance mindset, that's what you do. You grow and nurture others. And that's what leadership is about. But you're not always taught that when you're in a community that is always, you know, underrepresented or pushed down. And it's hard to get that mindset that, you know, others who are more fortunate or, you know, in non-POC communities might see. So, you know, I'm just basically fangirling over that mindset because it's just it's an unlock for me. I didn't think about this until later in my life, and I wish a podcast like this put it out there so directly, because you always have to read between the lines, and sometimes I don't even know what lines there were. I just took it directly. I just said, oh, what you mean is what you say, because that's all I got time for. But, you know, and that's the mindset for me, as just now realizing like I don't need to accommodate, but it, you know, we don't need to finesse things. People are saying things more openly and honestly now.
So, you know, we talked about earlier these offline moments that we have, sidebar conversations that you have offline, you know, but now we're bringing them to the forefront.
All right.
I know. I mean, I told y'all I'm all in the people manager. Like, that's my flag I'm waving right now. And so typically, you know, I'd have an offline conversation with my girlfriend about like, and what he ain't do, what he did do. And instead, I brought that fully online. And I'm like, listen, there is an importance in acknowledging your staff, your team members that report to you. And when they share things that are important to them, they share requests for help, whatever it is, like, it's your job to acknowledge that. And in any capacity, you need to acknowledge, because when you don't, you continue to create unsafe spaces for that employee to be able to come to confide, you know, all of that. So I think, I'm ceasing to, you know, have some of these offlines where it goes nowhere and nothing gets solved, to bringing that fully online.
I don't know where your offline, Luis, is, but I'm about to steal it if it is it, because I'm gonna tell everyone what it is. What it shouldn't be. Don't be putting no sombrero or mustache gifts on Cinco de Mayo. Do me a favor. I'm gonna take this offline, put it right onto your line. Please just don't do it. It's offensive. It hurts my feelings. I feel uncomfortable. Like, just don't do it.
Don't.
Offline for me, whether it's because of my title or because of how I look, if I'm saying the same idea and my white counterpart says it after me, but you didn't hear me and listen to him, I'm going to call it out.
I guess, and then my off moment, which is a good segue into that, my offline to online, I'm like, we're going from dial-up to FiOS, okay? It is redefine what your meaning of leadership looks like.
Ooh, child. Girl, you done dropped all the shit on them. Please say that again. Say that again.
What leadership looks like to you. Because one of the things I hear often, and you know, it's API Heritage Month in May, but people, and including people in my own community, in the API community, have said, "Oh, Asians aren't seen as leaders. You know, we're not seen as leaders." But that to me is perpetuating a certain stereotype, because leadership before was only reserved for white, cis, male leaders. And what I often remind people is, I'm like, there's a whole continent of Asian people in Asia that have had thousands of years of wars, and by the way, also lead companies. Like, leaders can
run businesses. Like, hello.
Yeah.
I live in Asia.
It's like, why can everyone do it in Asia, but they can't do it in the United States? Or there's only 2 people allowed to do that in the United States. So that's my offline moment, is I really challenge people to redefine what leadership looks like, you know, and think about how all the other genders, colors, like height, you know, all those things can come in, you know, and you don't have to all be one vision of what leadership looks like in our industry. So that's
mic drop.
Done. Oh my God, you guys, this was amazing. First episode in the books. Great conversation. Oddly, we were grateful to 2020, but I mean, it really brought us so many amazing things: growth, connectedness, you know, really purpose, and just the pushing of conversation. So love the offlines. We got more of those to come. So y'all don't know why you ain't acting right, we will let you know. And we really, really look forward to the next episode. Hope you guys join us. And thank you to all my co-hosts up in here. Love y'all.
Love y'all.